Donald Trump is looking more and more to me like the white horse rider of Revelation chapter 6. Now, who knew that the white horse rider who would become the man of lawlessness would get out of the way? This is a shocking political development. Now, for one thing, a couple shows today and tomorrow on a political slant, but also applying to the body of Christ and to current events at the end of Millennium 6. I told you during the Revelation series that I would not forget Paul. Now that I'm back teaching you from Paul's letters, I'm not going to forget the book of Revelation. I'm not going to forget current events. Now, I love Donald Trump because he's a practical guy, because he's not a politician. He's a straight talker. And I don't care if he called other nations shitholes. I hope he did. Tell it like it is, Trump. Great. I love it. You know that. I also believe in small government. Because as Thomas Jefferson said, I'm paraphrasing him, bad government begins with big government. You try to grow the government, give it more control over your life, it easily becomes bad because power corrupts people. And so, for this reason, I love Trump. Now, what's the white horse rider going to do? I'm going to go back to Revelation chapter 6 for you, starting with verse 1. And I perceived when the lambkin opens one of the seven seals, and I hear one of the four animals saying, as with a loud voice of thunder, come. And I perceived, and lo, this is verse 2, I perceived, and lo, a white horse. And he who was sitting on it has a bow, and to him was given a wreath. And he came forth conquering, and that he should be conquering. Many think that the white horse rider is Jesus Christ. It's not. He comes later on another white horse. This is the false white horse rider. But the word I want to emphasize today and bring up to you so you could be aware of these things is the word conquering. Now, most of us think of the man of lawlessness or this end-time governor. We think of someone who goes out to conquer aggressively, who goes out to make war with people, who goes out to increase his territory. And since this is the standard operating thought, the standard operating idea, then I think I'm safe to say that it's wrong. That the majority thinking on this is mistaken. This is the majority thinking of those who would feign to be expositors on the book of Revelation. I insist to you, am I saying I'm 100% right? No, I'm not. But these are my thoughts. I'll call them that, okay? I won't call them anything more than that. Based on study and life experience and paying attention to politics. Just so that I have a working knowledge and am conversant in politics. What if the white horse rider is so brilliant that he gets out of the way? What do I mean by that? Look at Donald Trump. One of the greatest lines from the inaugural address of Trump was him saying that he's going to take power away from the federal government and give it back to the people. Of the people, by the people, and for the people, said another great man, Abraham Lincoln. To me, that was a beautiful thing. Who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want their family to be autonomous, their business to be autonomous? Who doesn't want to be left alone by thugs, by people who want to stifle your creativity or punish you with regulations and or high taxes? Who wants to give most of their income to the federal government, which we know wastes it, which we know spends it on stupid things, which we know is bloated, which we know doesn't produce a single product? and that is loaded down, freighted with people who just want to live another day in office so they can make a lot of money, be esteemed by all the people. They get on a power trip. Once you get inside that beltway in Washington, D.C., most people get on a power trip. And where before they might have wanted to change things, they get into Washington, D.C., and they don't want to change anything. They just want to find their niche there, get a nice, comfortable spot, make a lot of money, get a lot of prestige, live in a nice house on the government tab, get a haircut on the government tab, get chauffeured around on the government tab, fly around the world on the government tab. That is on the backs of taxpayers. This is terrible. So here's Trump, who's not a politician, who already was a successful businessman, who understands business. And he understands that he doesn't want government regulations strangling his business ideas or anyone's business ideas. Now, look what happened at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland last week. Everybody thought that Trump was going to go in there and be hated, because these are basically people who have a global mentality. They have a big government mentality. They want to be among the small group of people that controls everything. In order to do that, you have to subjugate other nations. If you want to see how socialism or progressivism or communism works, look at places like Venezuela and North Korea. And you will see where this leads, where weak people giving up their self-sufficiency, giving up their decision-making, and saying, well, the government knows best. It's called nanny government. It's called big government. It's called statism, where the state, this all-powerful entity, knows better than you what you need. And it tells you what you can do, tells you what you can't do, tells you how much you need to heat your house, how little, what to buy, what not to buy, what to eat. You think, oh, this will never happen here. Well, we have to guard against it. That's what government of the people is about. Not many of us have this maniacal need to control other people, this maniacal need to have power. But many people do, and these people get together. And they're like Hitlers, or they're like Mussolinis, they're like Napoleons, they're like Alexander the Great. So they have this insatiable need to rule the world. Sounds like a big headache to me. I don't want to. I'm happy in my laundry room here. I don't want to rule the world. Trying to take care of my own life and to do my job here. Too much pressure. But I'll tell you what, some people are obsessed with it. So they get together, and one way they can do that is to either be a government or control a government. And the government then poses as a caretaker of the people. And then the people, if they're stupid, voluntarily give up their rights and their power for the greater good, because the government is a benevolent nanny. Is it really? It's not, because power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. We don't want this. So Trump goes to Davos, and he's supposed to be hated and reviled there, because it's an economic forum where the great entrepreneurs, the great business people who measure their wealth in billions, not millions, congregate. Birds of a feather flock together, and it happens once a year in Davos, Switzerland. And so, and these are, again, people who like the idea of a giant government called a global government. Some people call it the New World Order. I don't like those little catchphrases. I just call it big rule, big rulership by a small group of people. And the reason people thought Trump would be hated there is because these people in the past had supported Barack Obama, the previous president of the United States. And they gave money for Obama. They gave money to promote his agendas. And so surely Trump is going to be hated. But here's what happened. Donald Trump was treated like a rock star there. He was celebrated. People wanted their photos taken with Trump. And these businessmen loved Trump. And Trump made a great speech there saying that the United States is back in business. We're open for business. We're willing to negotiate with anybody who's willing to have a fair deal with us. And if you stick with us, if you invest in America, you're going to make a crap load of money. And your business is going to do well. And everybody knows that when individual companies do well, they hire people. And more money gets into the economy. And so these businessmen then liked this idea. And as we know, at the end of the year, Donald Trump in the United States of America, I know people are watching here from other countries, but in the United States of America, we had this huge legislative bill passed. It was called tax reform. This is common sense. Who wants to give most of their money to their government? So Trump says, we're going to cut taxes. You're going to have more money in your paycheck. Okay, sounds good so far, because the government doesn't need as much money as it says it needs. Then he said, we're going to lower the corporate tax rate, which means that corporations, companies, businesses that were paying 38% tax, meaning that 38% of what they made went away. We're going to lower that, which was one of the highest tax rates in the world. Trump says we're going to lower it to 21. What's not to like? So these businessmen now realize that they're in an environment where Trump is actually getting out of their way. Oh, not just that, but Trump has eliminated hundreds of burdensome regulations, stupid rules. You remember how the Jews, they had the Ten Commandments, but that wasn't enough for them. They added laws to the point that there were hundreds and hundreds of laws that were not God's laws, but they wanted to add burdens to the people, and they themselves couldn't follow these laws. But they kept adding more and more because they wanted to regulate people. Of course, they weren't subject to their own regulations, but they wanted other people to feel the burden. So under previous presidents, the burdens, the tax burdens or the regulations were very great. So anybody that wants to start a company looks at these hoops they have to jump through. They have to protect the environment in ridiculous ways, and other things. They have to sign agreements like the Paris Climate Accords, which were really very punitive against the United States, not so much other countries. And the Trans-Pacific Partnership, all these global agreements that were designed, and I'm not trying to get into any conspiracy theory here, just fact, they were designed to lower the United States at the expense of, to lower the United States so that other countries could have a fair playing field, because as we know, in communism, everything has to be equal, everything has to be fair, so we're going to redistribute the wealth, take it from the evil rich, give it to the pitiful poor. Capitalism says, let companies go, let them be free to produce, to create. It's called entrepreneurialism, it's called entrepreneurship, it's called people having ideas, wanting to make something, and being free to. So these big shots at Davos are looking at all this and they're saying, wait a minute, we can breathe. All these burdensome tax regulations that made us take our companies to other countries. Why would you come to the United States and have a multi-billion-dollar company when you pay such a heavy tax penalty and you have so many freaking regulations that you can't even move to the left or to the right? It's like you're boxed in. You're living in a tiny little matchbox. When you can breathe in other countries, oh, come here. We don't have hardly any regulations, and we have a low tax rate. So a lot of the companies went away. Trump says, that's over. We're back in business. So why did these leaders love Trump? Well, it turns out that they actually didn't love Obama. They had to suck up to Obama. Because Obama, there was no good environment for any business under the Obama administration with regulations and with taxes. And Obama, we know, was not averse to using any arm of the government, such as the IRS, to punish people that he disagreed with. So if you wanted to thrive economically under Obama, you had to suck up to Obama. You had to give Obama a lot of money. That's the only way you could make money, was to be one of Barack's favorites And so you had to you pad his campaign. You had to fawn all over him. But it was a dicey, dodgy proposition, because if Obama woke up in a bad mood, you were out of the circle. It shouldn't be about being in a favored circle. It should be about individual merit. It should be merit-based businesses, not who you suck up to, whose ass you kiss. But that's not the way it was. So it turns out that these guys never really loved Barack Obama. They just had to do what they had to do to hopefully survive his tactics that were not designed to raise the economic standards of the U.S., but to lower them, yes, lower them, to hinder economic growth, because Obama was one of these big government people who did not want the United States to rise as the cream of the crop. Now there's a different sheriff in town, as they say, and so Trump conquers by getting out of the way. This is the unique thing I'm seeing here. Could I be wrong? Yes, but this is very intriguing. We typically see a conqueror as someone who, again, wants to take over stuff. We rarely see a conqueror who wants to get out of the way and unleash the creative power of the United States. The creative power of the people of the United States. The people of the United States. Someone has a great idea. They want to invent a better case for an iPhone. It's easier for them to do it now. It's going to be an economic boom. We're on the brink of an economic boom because we have a conqueror who is conquering by getting out of the way, by freeing people to breathe, by unburdening them, by letting them keep more of their money. Isn't that strange? Isn't that something that we don't often think of as a conqueror? The second prong of that is that Trump is opening up some in the justice system to go after the corruption. Folks, there is a huge corruption scandal about to break. Those of you in the know are realizing it's happening now. That all this talk over the last year that Donald Trump colluded with the Russians to steal the election, it was actually Hillary Clinton that was doing that, because the Clintons are a crime family. And there was actually a group of people, a group of people in the FBI who were being political. The FBI is not supposed to do that. They're not supposed to be for one candidate or another candidate, and yet they rigged everything so that Hillary would not be indicted before the election of 2016, and they're trying to rig everything again, or they have been, to get Trump impeached. It's not going to work. It's all going to be exposed. This is part of Donald Trump conquering. The White Horse Rider will conquer corruption. Everybody will. Who doesn't want to see that? Who doesn't want to see the underbelly of American politics, which has the last name Clinton and Obama on it? Who doesn't want to see that exposed? It's going to be a beautiful thing. Letting justice take its natural course is the opposite of obstructing justice. Obstructing justice is something that the previous administration did, and it's something that you would expect the classic idea of the White Horse Rider to do. But again, to let justice take place fits the White Horse Rider that would get out of the way, which again goes against the grain of everything we have thought the White Horse Rider would be, and it is consistent with what Donald Trump is doing. Who doesn't want more money? Who doesn't want more income? Who doesn't want less taxes? Who doesn't want it to be easier to be an entrepreneur? Only a statist doesn't want these things. So these are all going to be great things. And again, we're entering a period of great prosperity. As I speak to, the stock market is up record amounts. Gained like $6 trillion, something crazy like that. Unemployment is way low. Jobs are way up. It's just the beginning. I want to end with these few points here. As the U.S. goes, so goes the world. The United States is setting the trend of the starting up the engines again of economic prosperity. More people, less government. And again, it's about people, not countries. This is a great thing. These businessmen at Davos realized, as I realized a long time ago, many people have, that Trump's one of us. He thinks like a businessman. He's going to put us on good economic footing. He's going to balance the budget. He's going to do smart things that make sense. If you're in government, you're not allowed to make sense. It's just like if you're in religion, you're not allowed to make sense. I'm allowed to make sense for a living because I'm free of all those trammels. I'm free of regulations. See, I can apply the same principles to government to religion. The same principles that ruin government ruin religion. The same reason it's a benefit to you that I'm free, that I don't have to toe regulations from a denomination. Those same reasons apply to government. Trump's one of them. Energy production in the U.S. I predicted a long time ago that the gas would come down to $1 a gallon because we're now able to drill for our own oil. Imagine that. We have all sorts of oil resources in the United States, in North America, in the form of natural gas, coal, shale. I don't know if you remember this. Obama was going to shut down the coal industry because he wanted to explore all these new earth-friendly ways, which are all great. Not knocking down wind, not knocking down the sun, but until a windmill can send a jet across the Atlantic Ocean, okay, until then we need fossil fuels. Until a solar panel can send a jet from New York to London, we need fossil fuels. Energy independence. It's going to be fantastic. And again, it's a result of taking regulations away. So many parallels in the spiritual realm. So many parallels. That's why in your right mind, you really can't argue against any of this stuff. But I'm telling you what it's going to become. That's the thing. This is the opposite of an oppressive government. It's a freeing government. And yet, it's going to become something that we've all been waiting for, but that we've wondered how it's going to manifest itself. More on that, of course, later. Watch Trump's State of the Union address tonight. You'll get this video on Tuesday. Trump's going to talk about the State of the Union. This union of 50 states that we call the United States. Going to talk about the great economic growth. And it's real. And I love it. I actually love it. Even though I know what it's going to become. I have a friend whose sisters, they hated Trump. Like before the election, Trump's the Antichrist, Trump's the Antichrist. And I had to laugh because they're saying Trump's the Antichrist for the wrong reason. They just think he's a misogynist. They think he's racist. And they think all these wrong things about him, which he's not. And so they think he's the Antichrist for all the wrong reasons. I told my friend that as soon as your sisters start to say, wow, gasoline's $1 a gallon. I'm making $200 more on my paycheck every month. My tax rate's gone down. Geez, this Trump guy's great after all. That's when you have to worry about Trump being the Antichrist.